Hello everybody, welcome to a new video. My voice is a bit hoarse, so I'm using my AirPods, so hopefully you guys can hear me a lot better. If not, I apologize, but I still wanted to make the video because I really like this topic, and I think that just because my voice is going away or is nearly gone, it shouldn't stop me from making a video. If anything, maybe sometimes throughout the video I'll start whispering. So, people love ASMR. So today I'm talking about the outer planets in astrology, with an emphasis on tropical astrology and specifically whole signs. So if you're looking at your chart while you are watching this video, I do suggest that you look at your whole sign chart. So the outer planets in astrology are Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto were discovered obviously after Saturn, right? So when we looked at the planets for a really long time, we looked at it in terms of Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. And the way that I look at that is that Saturn was the gatekeeper of these planetary spheres. And, in life we learn. The last video that I made was about Saturn and the price of the body. Okay, so Saturn, when we master Saturn, we are basically an adult, right? We're mature. Saturn is time and, maturity. There is a saying that goes, with time, things get better, right? Or just wine, right? Fine wine, aged gracefully, okay? So after Saturn, I already named those planets. And what's really interesting is that Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, as we know, are higher octaves of already personal planets, okay? So Uranus is a higher octave of Mercury, Neptune is higher octave of Venus, and Pluto is a higher octave of Mars, okay? And what prompted me to even make this video, I was studying my chart, and I was specifically studying my Mars placement. And sometimes I felt like I just didn't have a grasp on my Mars placement. It is in Pisces, so, but just in general, I just was like, I just don't have a grasp on it. I don't understand much of what this is, what this means, okay? In a logical standpoint, yes. But in a way of actually seeing it play out, no. So in other ways, yes, in other ways, no. So I was like, and I started to think about the higher octaves. I started to think about even just in life, when we see problems, when we're going through certain things, right? When we're too close to a situation, we may not be able to see it as well as when we step back. When we look at it from a higher perspective, when we look at it from a more mature standpoint, we don't allow ourselves to make risky, very fast, for lack of a better word, decisions. We allow ourselves, to step back, and that takes maturity. Some people, that takes maturity. And that has to do with Saturn, right? So we learn with Saturn being the gatekeeper, right? Grandfather Saturn, daddy Saturn. With Mercury, we learn how to communicate. We learn more about our mind, about how we process things, about our skills and our talents, and travel, amongst other things. With Venus, we learn about our personal aesthetic. We learn about attraction. We learn about taste, okay, amongst other things. And with Mars, we learn about our drive. We learn about our energy. We learn about our power, okay? So, actually, I'll take this off because, sorry. So, we learn all of that. okay, with the guidance of Saturn. After we've reached a stage of maturity, we get to Uranus, right? And I feel like the higher octave planets, they are the unhinged, unmonitored version of the personal planets that I just, named. It reminds me of like when you're at home with your parents, they have jurisdiction, right? Saturn also rules over, parenthood. And they say, like, if you look at your Saturn, you'll see like how you parent and like stuff like that. Your just authority, your ability to express your authority. So when you're in your house, when you're living with your parents, they basically have a say, right? If you're on the phone talking in the kitchen, like cursing, if your parents don't like cursing, they're gonna be like, you can't do that under my roof, right? So you have to wait till you leave, right? When you go out with your friends to their house, or you go out around town, or even just in your car on the driveway, right? But when you leave the house and you're in your own house, right, you get to be on the phone loud as fuck, cursing, right? Whatever you want to do. And so that's what I mean. You've cultivated, once you leave your house, right? Once we leave Saturn, we've cultivated enough of that particular planet to the point where we get to experience the full range of that particular sphere, the highs and the lows, and in a way that allows us to explore it. Okay, so with Uranus, it has to do with flashes of insight. It has to do with consciousness as well. People say like telepathy and psychic ability is attuned to like Uranus, and just like different, I would say like mental differences, right? Because Uranus is kind of known as like the genius or the madman, and like they say in every genius there's a madman, and in every madman there's a genius. So that's like Uranus, like how to use your mind, and you learn how to use it in a very unique way, in a way that doesn't allow you to become deranged. I mean, it depends, right? But that's just the way that I can describe it right now. All right. Then you have Neptune, which is the planet of delusions, fantasies, imagination. And I would even say like creation, which Venus is about creation. Venus is about love, and so is Neptune. Neptune's about devotion. And so when you tap into Neptune, you allow yourself to really engage in very like uninhibited ways of creation and of loving, unconditional as well, unconditional love. I feel like Neptune, how some people when they draw, this is the best way that I could describe like the difference between like Venus and Neptune. Okay, so Venus is like when people draw and they draw like what's in front of them, or they draw something that they see in their mind, from long ago. It may not be in front of them, but they have a picture of it in their mind. Okay, to me Neptune is like channeling, channeled drawing, channeled writing, just channeled creativity in general. It's when people go on stage and they say something just came over me, that's Neptune. Okay, it's a little bit of Uranus too if you think about it, but that's a different way I could describe it. Okay, and then we have Pluto, which is the planet of regeneration, transformation, death, control, power. Okay, and so Pluto to me is like magician energy, and Pluto is going to show you where your power lies in your chart. Okay, Pluto is going to show you where you wield the most power, what you want to have under control, because that is what is so easy for you to like, I don't know, to just make, to transform and make it in the way that you want, Pluto is destruction as well. Destruction of the old. Whenever I look at the Tower card, it gives me Uranus because the lightning, right? Wisdom and, well, intelligence, right? But it also gives me Pluto because destruction. Okay, out with the old, in with the new. The best way that I can describe Pluto and Mars, the difference between the two, is that Mars is like when someone gets into a physical altercation and then people are like, oh, whoa, like that person, nobody wants to ever fight that person ever again because we all saw how they fight. Okay. Pluto is the people that, like, people don't want to fight because of their aura, their magnetic field. They're like, I just know I wouldn't want to get in a fight with them. Nobody's ever seen them fight. Like, but it's a feeling. Okay? So the whole point of this video is for us, right? Or for me, for us, whatever, to start looking at our higher octaves whenever we're having issues with certain things, right? So when I'm having an issue when it comes to style or aesthetic or love, right? To look to my Neptune, okay? Because that's the highest. And I was telling my best friend this, that when we look at problems from a higher perspective and we decide to react from that higher perspective, we reap so many benefits. Both sides, right? The problem and the solution just reap so much. Versus when we look at something too close and we decide to make a decision based on the proximity, that close proximity, a lot of the times I realize that it's not as fulfilling, right? We learn, right? We're going to learn either way. We learn in life. But what I realize is we learn so much more, right? We learn about the grand scheme of it all, which is why I feel like these higher octaves are even they're even there, right? They were even discovered. Why we pay attention to these higher octave, to these generational planets, is because they're there so that we can see things beyond what they may look like, right? We can see things in a way that allows us to appreciate what's going on in our lives, that this is bigger than me. And that's why I like looking at the higher octaves. So I appreciate sidereal astrology, of course, but this particular video, very specifically talking about tropical. You want to look at whole signs and you want to look at where these planets are, right? You want to look at the sign and you want to look at where it's at in your chart. Of course, there's other things that you want to look at as well. But I would definitely suggest that, you pay attention to the house, because this is where, a lot of this energy, where it's being used, like where you're seeing things from a higher perspective. Now, if you have these planets in one of the outer houses, which is like 9th through 12th, then to me it's just saying that you really need to look at things from a higher perspective if you don't already. That all of your problems, whatever has to do with Mars, Venus, Mercury, right? That it would do you justice to look at it from broad perspectives, to look at it as bigger than you. Why is this person, making me feel this way? Why is this person trying to, dog my name and trying to make this situation seem bigger than it is? Or why is this person trying to get me riled up or whatever? Like, really kind of get a bird's eye view on your situation, because there's so many things working together to make, so much energy influence amongst all of us, to make some of us, feel this way, another person feel this way, another person to react this way, another person to react that way. So it's really important for us to look at things from higher perspectives. Now, if you have like Pluto in houses 1 through 8, or you have a generational higher octave planet in houses 1 through 8, then that would be a little bit different, of course, because those planets are very those houses, sorry, are very personal. I guess I would suggest if you had an intergenerational or generational planet there, that just like apply that planet into that house. So for example, if you have Neptune in the 5th house, maybe you do need to be a little more delusional, a little more fantastical with how you think that your love life should be, or maybe you do need to like play pretend. This is very generic, right? Of course, based on the 5th house and Neptune, but maybe you do need to add a little bit more, fantasy into the way that you play and into the way that you experience leisure, role play. There's a lot of what is it called, like those festivals where people like dress up like medieval, like stuff like that. Like if you're not into that and you have like Neptune in the 5th, then maybe you need to do a little bit of that. That's just a suggestion. If you have now, what about conjunctions? So for me, for example, I have Neptune conjunct Uranus. And wait, no, I don't. I was just talking about Neptune, so I had to in my chart, I have Mercury conjunct Uranus. So with that, you don't have to really do much. There's really nothing that you have to do, if I'm being completely honest, because when they're together, they're operating together. You're already using that higher generation planet, and we're always using, it's always working within us. But I'm saying, to get the benefit of those personal planets of Mercury, Venus, and Pluto, I definitely think that we need to look at the higher planets, right? When we're like, oh, thinking about how to make more money, you want to look at Neptune. It ain't no problem, because Venus is going to reap the benefits of Neptune. Always. Mercury is always going to reap the benefits of Uranus. Mars is always going to reap the benefits of Pluto. Okay? And Pluto is this deep seething, these just underbelly energy, right? It's also the underworld death, right? So when you know how to, like I said, when you know how to wield, when you know how to control your emotions, your sexuality, or just your sexual impulses, or just your impulses in general, right? There's a lot of power in that, okay? So yeah, with the conjunction, there's nothing that you need to do. That's personally what I think, because they're working together anyway. I think that's pretty much all that I have to say about these planets. I hope that you guys can take something from this, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.